I would love to welcome the lovely Reverend Judith Elia with us today. We're going to talk about the Alchemy of Happiness, Part 2. So please enjoy.
So last time I was here, we talked about the alchemy of happiness, this synergistic process that leads to the ultimate, undescribable really, imperishable Sat Chit Ananda. And last time I shared that, I felt that what I was learning is that there is this wellspring of joy within us that is never far from us, that is not able to be, as they say in the East, fire can't burn it, wind can't blow it away. It's beginningless and endless, and it's there. We just have to access it, tune into it, focus on it, and it grows. We have to fan the flames of it. But what I've come to realize in the past few weeks is that it's a triune process. Because of the time that we're living in, I've come to realize that lies with a low vibration in consciousness are not going to produce lasting happiness, right? Because they're absent from Sat and Chit, which is the consciousness of truth. And I thought I would have us repeat a couple of the names of truth in other languages that I love, Sanskrit and Arabic. And the interesting thing was I wanted to see if I could translate these languages into the word truth. But the truth is, you can't, because you can't put truth into words. So this morning I was yahak into my Google Translate, and it was coming back, oh hawk. And I would translate it again, and it would come back, oh hawk, no matter what language I tried to translate it to and then translate it back. And I thought, that's great. And then I looked it up in this amazing Sanskrit, dictionary I have that a bunch of Sufis wrote, and it said, hawk, it's not a word for God. It's not like the 99 words for God. It's something beyond that. That's roots are the word for spider web. So haq, or truth, is something akin to the interconnectedness of all life. It's something that is unity, oneness. It's a consciousness beyond that helps us to feel this incredible bliss, knowing that we're connected to the source of all life. And when we are in that consciousness, it's a high consciousness. And it can also be a way for us to understand what's happening in our world. We live at a time when language itself is being used to craft lies that confuse us. And in the words of Omar El-Akkad, who wrote the book, "One day everyone will have always been against this. One day everyone will have always been against this," which is a great phrase, and it went viral immediately. And Omar El-Akkad was previously just a writer of, novels, very importantly acknowledged novels, award-winning novelist. But when that went viral, he started to write down his thoughts and feelings about the current world situation, the genocide in Gaza, and the many different cultures he had lived in. And it's a wonderful evolution of understanding of our current world situation, because he comes at it from a kid in Egypt whose father couldn't support them anymore and then got sent to Qatar where there was no freedom of expression whatsoever. And then his father got a job in the United States. He became a green card holder and then a US citizen. And he has a very different perspective on what's worth saving in democracy, what's worth saving in America. And his language and the way that he describes reality is intriguing. Of all the after effects of the war on terror, he says, the most frequently underestimated is the heightened derangement of language for the purpose of sanitizing violence. Let me read that again. Of all the after effects of the war on terror, the most frequently underestimated is the heightened derangement of language for the purpose of sanitizing violence. You know, it's not a tent massacre in Gaza to drone bomb an entire village of displaced refugees. It's collateral damage. You know, we did it to get Hamas. Collateral damage is a term first used in the Vietnam War. So this kind of obscuration of truth will not bring us truth, will not bring us happiness, and certainly isn't coming from a higher state of consciousness. So we can't say it's Sat, Chit, Ananda. Truth with consciousness will bring joy. And if you have all three together, you will have a moment of enlightened awareness. But truth cannot be put into words. And that's why when Pontius Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? He never answered. Sometimes speaking truth to an emperor is wasting your breath. Sometimes speaking truth in an empire gone mad can be exhausting. But truth can't be hidden, and fake news cannot be believed when we are sensitive to our own inner intelligence beyond the intellect. What lies of the magnitude we see in our media today are spoken? When that happens, you may notice you have a visceral reaction. I know I do. I can just see a person lying, and my gut has an immediate biological reaction because our gut, our heart, and our brain are connected. This we know. There's neurons in our gut. There's neurons in our heart. There is a connection between our brain and our entire body. Unfortunately, many of us are frozen from years and years and years of abuse, propaganda, trauma, and the intentional desire to split us in consciousness, to have people blame each other for the problem. You know, the distractions that come up that keep our mind focused on something so trivial, so unimportant, that we don't feel after a while at all. Just being a little willing to face the truth and to look at it and to feel into it is the beginning of happiness. Knowing that you are strong enough not to be deterred in consciousness, not to have to put your head in the sand, not to have to look the other way, that you can actually look, feel, release, and let it go. It's tempting to just remain high all the time on mind-altering drugs. And it can make us fleetingly happy and also numb to the pain. But it's not a long-term solution. There's a funny story about the Venerable Bhante Dharmawara. You may have heard it before. Ram Dass loves to tell it when he was alive. And it's on many of his talks that are recorded. But when he went to India, Ram Dass really felt that, LSD was, his ticket to enlightenment. And there are many features of mind-altering drugs that can help us to see things differently, even know things about our inner life and trauma, so that we can be on a path of reconciliation, forgiveness, and happiness. But it is not enlightenment. So my teacher, Bhante Dharmawara, saw all these people coming to India and laying on the ground in, these crazy states of mind. And he asked someone, like, what is going on here? What are all of these people doing? And, Ram Dass told him it's LSD. So he said, well, give me that, because I want to know how to help these people. So Bhante took LSD, and I loved the way he used to say it. LSD, in his Yoda voice, created all these flowers in my mind. And then they would turn into other things. And it was a lot like being distracted during meditation. But my brain, it got so hot. So his conclusion was that it really was doing damage to the brain. It really was disconnecting some of the neural connections of your brain. And that it might be helpful, actually, to disconnect from some of that negativity. But in the long run, it would not be useful. And he would always say, meditation is much safer. Breathing, meditating, learning to focus, much better. So we have tried in many ways to find happiness. Whatever our compulsion is, a lot of times it's like the energy of a crack addict who had this incredible experience one time, and they can never have that experience again. But they keep trying to in ways that destroy them. There is a genocide going on. There is an ecocide going on, a scholasticide. Israel has bombed every university in Gaza. There's a medicide. They have bombed every hospital and imprisoned and killed beloved doctors. They have in prison right now a preeminent pediatrician who would not leave his patients. And I believe there is a veriticide going on, an attack on truth. The Israeli army has killed at least 221 journalists since October 7th, destroyed 143 media structures, 12 newspapers, 11 radio stations, 4 satellite channels, 12 offices of newspapers. And they've destroyed the international and local news channels. But the most telling thing for me is that some Israeli soldiers are using slain Palestinian American journalists' picture Shireen Abu Akleh, her face for target practice. This is such an attack on truth and free speech. It's so obvious. They do not want you to see what is happening in Gaza and the West Bank. And some of the soldiers are so sick that they are filming themselves dancing around, appearing jovial, dressed in the clothes and the jewels of the people they've killed. This is not Ananda. This is not happiness. This is depravity and psychosis. No religious or spiritual tradition teaches the celebration of killing. This is beyond the pale. One day, we will have always been against this. One day, these sick and psychotic people that have been trained through propaganda to think of Palestinian people in such a hateful way that they would celebrate in the killing of them, one day they will have to face that pain of the unspeakable violence they committed. The power of killing, it can feel exhilarating, soldiers tell me, for a minute. But then you recklessly try to find that feeling through more depravity and torture of the kind we are seeing today, which we would have to go back to the Middle Ages to find. And to deal with this kind of picture of humanity and crimes against humanity and constant imaging of the faces of people who are innocent civilian women and children dying, we have become a very depressed society with a very high suicide rate because we feel responsible. It's our bombs. But this is not the solution, because to depress feelings, it takes a lot of energy, and it eventually makes us sick. And one of the biggest keys to happiness is health, is expression of our feelings, releasing and resiliency in the midst of all of this that we are looking at. So health is really wealth. You know, the co-founders of Unity, the movement that I'm ordained in, were born into a situation that was similar to what we're looking at today. You know, there was racism, there were enslaved people, and Myrtle was told that she would be dead in 6 months of incurable tuberculosis. She was one of a very few amount of people who were able to, as a female, graduate from college. And Oberlin College, where she attended, was the only institution in the United States that gave women and blacks college degrees. And they were on the Underground Railroad. So Myrtle was both an activist and a spiritual woman who then went to Texas to teach underprivileged children by herself from Ohio, all before she studied the principles of spirituality that she and her husband Charles and many of the UU founders who were studying, like Emerson and Thoreau, the great world Bibles, knew after many years of studying led to health, mental stability, and eventually world harmony. So let's have slide number 1. So Myrtle was so sick and they were so poor that they couldn't even buy food for their children. And she went to a seminar and she had an epiphany that she could heal herself. She was a child of God. She did not inherit sickness. And this is what she says. Here is the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by intelligence in all forms. The same law works in my own body. Life is simply a form of energy, and it has to be guided and directed in a person's body by his or her intelligence. How do we communicate intelligence? By thinking and talking. And then it flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. And I began to teach my body and get marvelous results. Next slide, because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to go quickly here. All right, so one of the things about the energy of healing is that you have to move. You have to move the energy that is stuck in your body. And so here's a simple Qigong practice that you can use that will help you to move the energy in your body. And I can't hold this and demonstrate it at the same time. So do you want to help me with this? All right. So just, you can hold this to my mouth. Okay, so the first movement is like you're just throwing water upon your body. So right where you are, do this with me, okay? Because that's what is the important part, is you moving with the affirmation. So it's water of life, and then you have your hands up here, and you're cleansing your body. Cleanse my soul. Do that again. Water of life, cleanse my soul. And then as if you were exuding fire from your fingertips, because you do have an energy body, and you do, in, like I said, your visceral energy, your gut, your heart, your head, have this capacity to know truth. So it's fire of truth. Burn away my fear. Because really, your resistance to taking a stand for truth or to even searching for truth is fear. You know, the absence of which is love, right? And there's so much going on right now to create fear, putting college students in jail and putting some of the greatest spiritual teachers of our time in jail. But the upside of that is then we get to hear from them when they're released, and everyone in the world gets to hear and see what a person of peace and love really looks like. Like, it has been really astounding to me to hear from the people released from prison for just speaking out on behalf of Palestine. And their fearlessness. One more time. Fire of truth. Burn away my fear. And then the last thing is, it's like in Qigong and Tai Chi practice, if you've ever done it, it's this called cloud hands, which represents wind. So you bring your hand up in front of your face, and then you stretch it out. And I hope those of you on Zoom are doing this. Take your hand up and you stretch it out. You can do it really low, and you can do it really high. So it's wind of the Spirit, wind of the Spirit, let my being soar. And if you were standing, you would be soaring. And then always bless the mother. In Chinese tradition, we say, embrace the tiger within you, embrace your inner chi, the Christ within you, and then return that to Mother Earth. bless Mother Earth. So, Mother Earth heals me again. The whole thing, one time. Water of life, cleanse my soul. Fire of truth, burn away my fear. Wind of the Spirit, let my being soar. Mother Earth, heal me again. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and notice how you feel. If you did the movements, even if you just heard them, but if you did them, do you feel the energy? It's that energy that creates healing and gives you the feeling of being alive in an unfrozen body. So let's quickly move through the other slides. Thoughts held in mind, reproduced after their kind, form tracks in your brain that make it easier to think and feel that way the next time. As we think, so we become. So the first is true as a scientific fact. We used to only say thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind, but then as neurology and modern medicine taught us, actually as you think, you're forming your brain, and it's easier for you to think those thoughts that you've thought before because of the way your brain is structured. It's interactive. It's coexistent. And as we think, so we become is a testimonial from the Rig Veda, which is one of our oldest scriptures in recorded history. Some people think it goes back tens of thousands of years. Next slide. Repeat after me. I love myself just the way I am. Or let's do this together. I welcome all of me to this party called life. I'm anchored in joy and happiness. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul because the soul of me is happiness itself. So these are affirmations you can work with to help you to combat the negativity of the world and heal those kinds of really disturbing emotions. Next slide. In Unity, they decided that there was so much evidence about movement and affirmations in the world today that they took this prayer called the Prayer of Protection that was written during World War II by James Stillett Freeman, that in Unity churches all over the world, we say it every Sunday in Unity churches. It's kind of like the last thing we do. And they put it to movements and affirmations. So if you're able to stand and do this with me. Maybe you can speak it while I do it. Okay. So it goes like this.
Light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us.
Stand there in all of your powerful presence.
I am
Divine. Or did I miss one?
You missed one.
One more time.
The God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine.
I'm going to close with this poem by Hafiz, the Persian mystic. Sometimes I forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy. Heavy for me to remember. Too heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance. The sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and lift others up. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares me. Free my soul, that we might dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. Take care of your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. If you don't, no one else will. Point yourself in the direction of happiness, and it will lead you to the Tryon of Sat Chit Ananga. Thank you.